Yeah, I have it in silent. I always keep them silent.
Turn them on. I'll make sure mine's on silent as well.
Yeah. Rookie mistake.
Yeah. Thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Hey, no problem.
Appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, do you want to talk about where we are right now?
Yeah. Right now we are at the second oldest Methodist church in the United States.
Right.
It's the Embury Methodist Church, and we've been pretty much using it as a group, as a new faith community,
Right.
In Cambridge, New York,
Right.
with the name of, as the group Connect. It's a group that we just do game night every Friday,
Right.
and we watch movies and whatnot, and all this is kind of like just thanks to the Methodist Church, really, that is giving us permission to use the facilities, because it was going to close, and just this entire building was not going to be used,
Right.
and maybe at a certain point somebody goes and buy it, but the building itself being one of the oldest Methodist churches, just maybe whatever. It's so hard to maintain.
Yeah.
It's just, all the money that comes in order to just like heat this thing up in winter.
Right.
So it doesn't freeze over.
Yeah.
It's just
Thousands and thousands of dollars.
a year. Yeah, of course. It's a madness. So anybody who would have buy it later, maybe they topple it down, maybe they do a business on it, but
Right.
it's just such a shame that really old churches like this one, they just, I don't know, they die off, really. And there's still hope that this church has a congregation again.
Right.
And it gets, used. This is the sanctuary.
Yeah.
In the second floor. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
And I come from a very Catholic country. It was Chile, and never seen anything like this. This is just beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, to me, it seems like it's becoming a little bit obsolete, places like this.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't think that places like this are necessarily that useful for communities in general anymore. I mean, obviously there are some churches that obviously get high attendance, but
Yeah.
it's like most people find what they want from religion just online or just by
Yeah.
listening at their house.
Today you hear more of a kind of like a spiritual type of mentality, which is in basis what people really need out of this
Right.
whole group thing. I'm not a religious person, even though I'm Catholic, but I understand the need and use for all this, because this is what really holds communities together.
Right. Well, regardless, I think I don't consider myself religious either, but I think it's fun that we're at a church right now.
Yeah.
It's fun that we're in a church in Cambridge, New York, that you're helping maintain and refurbish.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic.
I think it's kind of silly. I mean, just imagine all the steps that it took us to get here, right? It's like I met you at the Watts Atelier in San Diego.
Yeah.
And you're from Chile, right? And it's like, who would have guessed?
What are the chances?
We're sitting, it's like Thursday afternoon almost, and we're just sitting in this church in the middle of New York, and we're just like the only ones here.
Yeah. And this is a huge sanctuary.
Yeah. It's quite strange. It's really bizarre.
Yeah.
It's like a.
But at the end, I think we were talking a little bit before about the whole concept of icons. A church is nothing without its congregation. It becomes an empty building after all. Very pretty, stained glass windows, huge organ, and the chairs are magnificent. Like the woodwork is genius. something that you wouldn't see today. But
Well,
it just makes no sense without its original use.
I mean, I've been thinking a lot about that in general, where it's like this church is like an incredible work of art in a sense, and it's like,
Oh yeah.
the complexity it took to build the organ. You know, it might cost like $100,000 or more to build an organ.
I have
You know,
no idea. But back in the day, I imagine. I mean, I don't know if this. I don't think this is the original organ though, but it's pretty old still, because over there at the other side of the sanctuary, there's another organ, like a tiny little thing, and it has the pedals because they have
right?
it doesn't have. This one has a bag of air in the back that is constructed to maintain the air for the tubes, but this one over there, which I think is the original one, is it has the bags inside, and you have to constantly pedal it in order to play it. That was what Debbie was talking about.
Well, I mean, the reason places like this are so strange to me is because it took a tremendous amount of effort and skill and money to build it, and it's one church out of millions that might be destroyed, you know? And it's like it might have taken more effort to build this than more effort to build a Magic the Gathering set or something. And it's more
I mean, over time, this type of thing is old, just an old type of culture that really is just like slowly and gently fading away, really.
Absolutely.
You know, each congregation is diminishing, sadly, by just people dying off, really. Literally.
I'm thinking of how does that relate to us, right? Because at a certain point in history, Christian culture was, at least in American culture, was the most important thing in a community, you know?
Yeah.
It's like there are churches like this all over the world. And again, of this quality and this amount of, beauty, and it's not popular anymore. You know, it went out of style in the same way that I guess what I'm trying to say is the artwork that we're pursuing, the kind of things that we're doing might be the same thing.
Oh yeah, definitely. No.
Like the Avengers movies, are those going to be popular in the same way that they're popular in 10 years, you know?
Yeah, and precisely that. I mean, think about cinema.
Yeah.
You know? Like, for example, the same type of gathering huge spaces and for massive amounts of crowd that it was the one thing that pretty much Hollywood based their income on. And yeah, they're dying off. Now it's all streaming services.
Right.
And, so on.
Well, and I think there's a fleeting element to all this stuff where it's no matter how set in stone something might seem in the moment, it's it can disappear. It can go away. You know, it's the fact that, at some point this church could probably hold 300 people or something, right?
I have no idea, but yeah, a huge amount of people. I mean,
and it's to those people that was the most meaningful thing, but to us, it's I don't care about this church. It might be torn down. It's
it doesn't affect us directly.
Right.
But back in the day, church burning down was a huge tragedy.
Absolutely.
It's still today, for some churches, burn down is just because churches still do a huge amount of work for the small communities that they're ingrained in. Yeah. For example, in Salem, Debbie was in charge. I'm talking about Debbie Airthrow, the ex-minister of Salem, now is the district superintendent for Washington County more. She oversees 120 churches or so now. But back in the day when she was preaching at Salem, she was pretty much the center organizer of most of the community.
Yeah.
It's an important part for them because there's events that happen, every year, like turkey dinners and whatnot. And it's still something that means a lot for the community. But every now, as it progresses, as time progresses, people just move into the cities, this is not that much important, has not much importance. And yeah, it's just the interest maintains, these kind of things.
Well, and
It just dies off.
I guess what I'm trying to get at mostly is like the fleeting nature of interest in general.
Yeah.
Where it's like, the goal of this podcast isn't necessarily to talk about technique of art. It's to talk about like, why do you do art or anything in the first place?
Yeah.
And essentially what I'm trying to say is like, I think that art and the way that we're doing it draws a lot of parallels between like, it's going to go out of style, it's going to be meaningless at some point. So why is it important?
Yeah.
Because I believe if you can figure out the why to why you do something anyhow is necessary, or it becomes easy.
And it's hard to conceive it at the point that you're living it, that knowing that orcs and elves have a lifespan, they're going to go out of style at a certain point. And it's going to be like in my case, Star Trek makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like I've never watched Star Trek, and I know that some Gen Xers are going to be like, "Oh my God, sacrilege!" Right. But for me, just I'm not even that much of a fan of Star Wars or anything like that. Even Magic the Gathering or things like that. They're just like, "What he used to do? What, Grandpa? Like collect cardboard, and they had images, and you play with those? That's so lame."
Right. Well, and I think it's like that's ultimately like nothing is going to stick around forever. You know? It's like no matter how big it might seem, no matter how important it seems, it's not important in terms of its contribution to the world.
Yeah.
It's like, again, the Avengers they're going to go away. Christianity is going away.
Yeah, but I think those things fade away into a more surface kind of situation. Like, for example, this church itself and the congregation and the entire design around it, the rites and all that type of culture, it kind of fades back into history. But I do think that things get replaced over time, and they carry the same type of seed.
And I guess that another thing I'm trying to get at is like, ultimately, I think that all, like, whether it's Christianity or Lord of the Rings or whatever, they're all telling the same story, which is like, it's carrying the same seed of like the heroic man or the heroic person that's going off and like being like an archetypal kind of figure. And ultimately, I think it's like, it's strange to me to see all these people that we both mutually know, and ourselves included, to like focus so much on creating these images that ultimately won't matter. It's like, what are we really trying to do? When we're trying to draw a monster or an orc or a knight or something. It's like,
I mean, without being nihilistic, it's just, I think lowering the standards of the importance of what you do, it is a good exercise to do, to have in order to just create what the thing you're creating. Because honestly, if you put yourself so much pressure on what you're doing, like, for example, right now, keeping everything, like together here, that the cameras are in focus, or me even talking with my broken English.
Right.
It's just, what's going to do is that we're not going to follow the pattern of the conversation. Everything's going to topple down, because the important aspect of it really is the element that just crosses through. Everything else really is just like, you just lower the standards of the detail. If something bad's going to happen with it, at the end, you're always going back to the basis of what is it after all? It's just goblins and dragons and doodles and whatnot, like scribbles.
Yeah. Well, there's the objective element of it. It's like when you look at something like this, for example, it's like ink on a piece of wood.
Yeah.
It's like, and ink is just like, I don't even know how you make ink. It's like bug juice.
It's fading out with the sun.
Well, and it's like, but subjectively, it's way more meaningful than that. Like, all of these different drawings are the representation of somebody's like sketch, somebody's personality, and it's like, you have like Ryan Benjamin on there, and you have Steven Zapata, and you have Ahmed Aldori, and Ken Yaris, and Stan, like, and Scott Flanders, and a bunch of people who like give a little bit of themselves to this piece of wood, and I believe that, all art is precious in the sense where it's like, it took you time to do a drawing. So in a sense, it's like a physical representation of your time, So in a sense, people gave me a little piece of their life by drawing on this board. You know?
Yeah. It's a very beautiful thing, honestly. And what you're doing makes, I don't know, it just fits so well with it too. You know, it's just such a beautiful thing. And coming back to that, you know, that original topic, it's just when you die, you know, like your grandkids or great grandkids are going to look at this and go like, oh, what a piece of shit is this?
Yeah, well, it didn't matter. But then there's the like.
We're for the fire.
Well, I feel like it's easy to be a nihilist. You know, it's easy to feel like nothing matters.
Yeah.
Because objectively, it's like that's true. It's like the heat death of the universe.
It takes effort to think about the things that are worth the effort.
Well, I think
in the right measure.
As I'm doing more of this stuff, I'm realizing that the struggle is the meaning of life. You know, it's like you need a purpose, you need problems to solve. You know, it's like people like to think that nothing matters, which I think if you think nothing matters, you're an idiot. You know, because if I punched you in the face, that would matter to you a lot.
Does it matter now?
Yeah, it's like, pain matters. Pain for sure is going to be.
Oh shit! I'm so sorry. Now it matters.
Oh yeah. It's like that fucking sucks. Pain matters. You know, so. If the negative side of meaning matters, then the good side of meaning must matter, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, the thing I've been saying to people is like, you know, on a cosmic scale, an ant getting a potato chip off a picnic or a dog playing with a stick on a cosmic level is as meaningful as us painting pictures or us running for president or us like.
Yeah. I mean, all this makes no sense at the point that a big rock hits this world and we all become dust.
Yeah. But it matters.
It's kind of like it's a weird reality when sometimes you're at night, you know, at 2 a.m. and you think about that aspect and you go like, do I really want to wake up at 5 o'clock, you know, at 5 a.m. in the morning tomorrow?
Yeah.
Does it really matter, you know?
Well, and
I think no, but.
And when you say it doesn't matter, then it stops mattering, you know? I think that's part of the strange thing of being a human is that so much of meaning is entirely subjective, you know?
Yeah, you got to have like, I don't know. I think that it's just balance, having a nice balance thing. I mean, and honestly, I do care that even what we're talking is important because much of this type of conversations, people have them as a given. It's like, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You know, I should stop talking. But like my parents used to be like that.
Yeah.
I used to be very kind of like into introspective when I was a kid and just thinking about what we call in Chile, like la inmortalidad del cangrejo, or the crab's immortality, which is kind of like a very recursive type of thing. And it's just, I think it makes sense to munch on it. Yeah. You know, to digest it, those kind of thoughts. And you don't live in them, but you understand it and you exercise them as a type of, you know, meditation.
Yeah.
That you exist and you're more mindful of the things that you do during the day. You know, it's not like just like eating breakfast and 8 a.m. you go back to work and that's it. And then suddenly you're asleep and then the next day is the same. You know, I think everybody lived through that. Throughout the pandemic.
Yeah, well, I think it's I think the pandemic has highlighted a lot of people's reliance on other people. You know, it's like you can't just be somebody who sits in front of a computer and just makes beautiful images. You know, you need to go out into the world and see things. You need to get, you know, you need to find other things to say than just the things that you can say when you're in your own environment by yourself.
Yeah.
You know. Just having essentially very incestuous thoughts, you know, it's like they feed off each other and it doesn't really, you know, it's easy to think that you have great ideas when you're completely by yourself, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's very self-serving in a certain kind of way. But yeah, I think balance, you know, just thinking, having a balanced diet, you know, like you cannot be eating just, I think we were talking yesterday about like how you wanted, you know, or you have this idea that, yeah, I mean, eating just rice and water, you know, and living in a small apartment, and that's it.
Broccoli,
and you can totally live like that. But do you really want to?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, and I think it's like the other flip side of that is like, if you have a wide variety of what you eat, from like fried chicken to ice cream to healthy stuff to not healthy, it's like you're giving up something by being tied to physical pleasure,
Yeah.
And I guess part of the reason why I admire that kind of living is that you're foregoing physical satisfaction for like spiritual satisfaction, because I think if you have more energy because you're eating better, you're able to like enjoy the world more, because you're able to like, your brain isn't as foggy. You're not focused on like trying to get ice cream. You're focused on like, oh, I don't want ice cream. I want to go on like a hike. I want to like go to a museum instead, and again, I'm saying that full well knowing I'm going to eat ice cream, It's like, and it's a strange thing to say that because I'm knowingly like giving up spiritual satisfaction in my life to have like frozen cow milk,
Yeah. Frozen cow milk.
That's like essentially what it is.
Yeah. I never thought about it. That's disgusting.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's
I don't like it.
What?
No wonder I don't like milk.
It's weird. My milk is like.
I mean, you said it like frozen cow milk, and I was like, yeah, this white
That's what
liquid
it
that
is.
is frozen.
Yeah, that was in a cow.
Yeah.
Cow made that, and and I think it's like I'm living in my van, right? And we're not doing the podcast in the van because I think it's cooler that we're doing it in a church.
Yeah, definitely.
But
I mean, you could have. That's the thing. You could have chose to keep on the steady diet.
Yeah.
And just be like, no, my brand is the Sketchy van.
Right.
The van is if there's no van, there's no Sketchy van.
Right.
Like the. But
yeah. Well, and I think it's like it's parked right outside. It's
exactly.
Like, enough of it.
We can call this a Sketchy church van.
Yeah, the sketchy church.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of sketchy.
It is kind of sketchy.
There's some cracks.
Yeah, I see one over there.
Yeah,
but again, it goes back to like all the reading stuff where it's like, I don't think you can help what you value. It's like you can kind of influence what you value, and because of that, I think that we don't necessarily have free will. It's like. I don't know if you can necessarily say that you've chosen to paint, or you didn't necessarily even choose to come here.
No,
right?
you like, for example, when you're doing a painting, you don't choose anything really. You don't. I don't think that you make choices that are kind of like you wake up in the morning and you have this idea or image in your head, and everything just like gets slapped into the canvas as it is.
Right.
It's always, I feel like it's always kind of like pulling a thread of something.
Right.
Just trying to discover. You don't really ideate anything. You're not like the genius person.
Right.
And yeah, you just like decide certain things, just go at it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's ironic that you're, like, in a sense, the universe has put you in a church, right? Given the stuff that you paint, Yeah,
that's what I was trying to say at the beginning. It's kind of ironic that, because I've always been like this kind of agnostics / atheist person. And yeah, I don't know.
Well, I think it's pretty funny. It's like you're painting
terms of life.
And,
metal. I paint all this horrible shit.
And then like God has put you has put you in a
or
a Christian church,
any type of being.
So bizarre, right?
Yeah.
And I don't consider myself religious either, but I think it's like stuff like this happens.
Yeah.
It's like
I could have said no. I mean, there's always a choice where you kind of like. You can close the door into whatever you're offered.
Right.
But if you choose to go with it, there's so much more that happens. I mean, I've never been kind of like much of a yes man, like where it's just, if somebody calls me at 3 a.m. and I go, like, let's go party. I'm not going to be that guy.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's so much to say thank you for when people offer you a chance on things. And I rather commit a mistake than not doing the things at all,
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think I'm realizing that that's the, one of the secrets to being really successful is like running into failure as much as you possibly can, like admitting that you're generally like an incompetent human being.
Yeah.
Like not you specifically, but fuck you, Felipe.
Fuck you, man.
Yeah. Well, it's like people are like mostly incompetent at everything that they do. And you have to just keep trying things until you find something that you're like kind of good at.
Yeah. I mean, Björn Hurry, I think it was his quote because I heard it from Dan Warren in the podcast, and then I heard it from somebody else again. I don't know. It's just, but yeah, that stuck with me, the bucket of fails thing. Yeah. At the point that it became kind of like almost like a religious aspect of it, that everybody has kind of like a certain type of bucket where you put fails, like as if it were pebbles in it. And when you fill it up and starts overflowing, you get a new one that kind of like symbolizes you leveling up into a bigger bucket.
Right.
And it's kind of funny because it's very, very accurate representation of what it means to make a painting as you advance. It becomes more and more challenging. It becomes more nuanced and more difficult. There's more things that you want to add to it. Yeah. At the beginning, doing a hand is a struggle. Yeah. It's a pain in the ass. Right. But later on, just trying to get that expression, the right composition, and the right lighting, so it calls the attention. Everything around it is not too obvious, but just enough. Right. So it just makes sense.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, going back to all this stuff, it's always about the failure. I think art and just real life have a lot of parallels where you constantly just try your best, and in spite of it potentially embarrassing you or making you feel uncomfortable or whatever, the more that you can push past it, the more you're rewarded based on how uncomfortable you are, essentially, and for me, it's like I found living in a van, being very poor in a certain sense, being like homeless, has been a lot.
Yeah, you're technically homeless.
I'm technically homeless, yeah.
Yeah.
It's well, the other day.
We were talking about it that too.
My van is in the parking lot of this church, and
yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday, and a police officer called your wife and was like, "There's a sketchy van in the parking lot. Should I do something about it?"
I wonder who was it, because some Karen, just like looking out of the window, going like, "I don't know, I don't kind of like that." Yeah. They call it police.
Yeah, fuck that. But it's like
small town.
But I found that like living this way has been I'm way happier than I generally am when I'm physically comfortable.
I bet life is so much simpler.
Life is so much simpler. I mean, I don't have to worry about a leak in my roof, or I don't have to worry about, I don't have to worry about a lot of things that go along with having a home, and I just have to change my oil and get gas and get my car looked at occasionally.
I think that's why maybe as you progress into art or you see more experienced artists, they tend to just focus into the line art or sketches, right? Have you seen haven't you noticed that? And I think it's because they're coming back to the simplicity of it, because it's so much more entertaining than doing a big fucking picture. Well, and that's just going to give you a headache by the end. You're
I don't know. I don't like super complicated paintings at all anymore. I think that John Singer Sargent's paintings are some of the best paintings ever done because they're so simple. It's
there's some beauty in it.
Well, single figure, and obviously very well painted, but it's very simple compositions, Yeah. And you can make beautiful, complex, amazing, beautiful images with very simple. Obviously something like Adventure Time resonates with a lot of people. Yeah. It's very simple.
I think it's because humans, we're so sensible to bullshit, in general. We're just so sensible to when somebody's clearly trying hard.
Yeah.
When they're clearly just creating a smidge of a supernatural effort to just make it look cool. Yeah. And we're just kind of like, I guess that's cool. But when we see something simple in the case of like, some art line or something that was not trying to just like be anything,
Right.
there's some magic and honesty that comes through with it that is just very attractive to people. It's like, oh, how the hell do you pull that out of your ass? It's like, I don't know. It's just like,
Right. It just happened.
Yeah, it just happened.
Well, and I think that's the beauty of all this stuff. It's like so much of it is based around just like there are people that try really hard to evoke emotions for their paintings that don't do it at all. And people that don't try at all that get.
I've tried it, and honestly, are the paintings that I hate the most.
Yeah, right. Well, it's like I think that we were talking about this the other day, where I think that people who tie their identity to being a painter or being an artist are doing it wrong. I think the goal is to be somebody who paints, not somebody who is a painter. Like you paint in the same way that you go for walks or you play video games.
It's a tool.
It's just something you do. Right?
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's like the more you can just like I get way more inspired when I see somebody go and run like 100 miles, just on their feet, than any painting I've ever seen. And it's like it's what that represents more so than anything. It's like a painting of a heroic person might be a painting of a heroic person, but that person doesn't exist. But the person that goes out into the world and does a crazy adventure on their own with their body, that's like an incredibly, cool, like David Goggins.
Yeah, we're talking about David Goggins, but yeah, no, I agree. And honestly, it's just, anything that you do, that if you do it honest enough, it's going to show.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes that's going to be not up to your standards, but everybody else is going to resonate with it because it's up to theirs, Yeah, and
definitely.
that really somehow is what matters. I don't know. I've been always of the idea that what I think about my own paintings is what I really want to. I want to be entertained.
Yeah.
I don't want to entertain other people. I don't think that I'm an entertainer or like a YouTuber or some, I mean, not to throw shit to anybody, that does that, but it's just that's not somehow, I feel so much pressure into that, it doesn't have to do with anxiety, anything like that. It's just like, I feel like my priority to me have fun is just so much more important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, I think at a certain point, the success it has diminishing returns on how much it makes you happy,
Yeah.
Or it's like, if you did the best painting ever done tomorrow and everyone agreed that it was the best painting you've ever done, that actually might be a bad thing because it's like, oh, I can't say anything else.
Oh, yeah, the typical thing of, you reach your top.
Right.
What am I going to do about now? Yeah, there's a TED Talk by that person. It's a very well-known TED Talk by the author. I forgot her name. That wrote Live, Laugh, Love thing. Yeah. And anyway, she talks about that because when she wrote that, it was one of the best-selling books that she has ever had. But by far, and one of the questions that she got was like, what are you going to do now? Yeah. And she was like, oh, well, I don't know. And that thought terrified her for a very long time because, what am I going to do now? Like, any other work is going to be eclipsed by that one. And I think there's lots of famous artists today, like you can browse it on our station.
Right.
They have their heavy hitters.
Yeah.
And I bet that every famous artist hates that picture for some reason.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like, what the fuck did I do here?
Yeah.
That just made it so important for everybody else, while this thing that I have here, that matters to me.
Right.
Like, people don't really care about it, but somehow you have to let that go.
Yeah. Well, and it comes back to, like, you don't see yourself as an artist. You see yourself as somebody who paints. Because, like, I don't think you can explain what you're even doing when you make a painting. It's like the metaphor of the muse. Like, something possesses you, and orcs and demons and sexy ladies.
Sexy ladies.
Hell yeah, dude.
In garments. Hell yeah.
But it's like you couldn't even explain why you paint what you paint. It's like you're, in a sense, like just like transmitting or transmuting or channeling all of your values into a painting, but it's not. It's like decades of influence on like the artists you like, the kind of paintings you do, the kind of like so many different things. You know, it's not like you're consciously thinking about making a sword a certain shape. You know,
No.
it just kind of happens, right? And I think it's like the less you can take credit for your own artwork, the happier you'll be. You know, it's like I didn't do that. I was like, you know, like Felipe from 10 years ago did that. You know, it's like
Yeah. Oh my gosh. There's so many images that I feel like are just, I don't know what I did.
yeah.
What did I do with those? Like, there's some process that I just did, and I feel like it's just, I'm still figuring it out. But you know what helps that I found out that helps technically? Yeah. It's just, really just putting on the side and just every now and then really, not like creating a study on them,
Right.
but just keeping them in your mind or just in your visual range. You
Right.
print it. And since I was a kid, I would put like images that I really like. I don't do that anymore for some reason, which I should get back to it. But you just put them in front, and whenever they look ugly to you, you get rid of them because that means that you're over them.
Yeah. Right. Well, and it's like I remember I was again, John Singer Sargent is my favorite painter, but I remember I was standing in the Met in front of all of his famous paintings, you know, Madame X, Winhome Sisters, all of those paintings, and I was thinking, I fucking hate these paintings. These are the worst paintings I've ever seen.
No,
you know. And
but
it was
you
like,
thought that on purpose, or
no? It was like a
instinctual.
I was like paying attention to like
odd.
I felt like a disgust, you know.
Weird.
Well, and I was like, and I could tell you why. It was because I was listening to a lot of things, like reading a lot of things about John Singer Sargent, and he was talking about how he didn't like doing his paintings. You know?
Oh, okay. So
and that's like he might have not chosen to do them if he had another option. You know, it's like his parents decided that he would have been a painter. Like his parents was like, okay, when he was like 16 or 17, they were like, okay, you're going to be a painter. You know?
Wow, I didn't know.
There was a point.
So that means that many of those paintings are kind of just become bastardized.
Well, in many of his paintings, he wouldn't have chosen to do if he didn't have to.
That dropped value immediately.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like when I look at that, again, I still admire his work greatly, but it's like not the path that I would follow at all, you know? Because I believe that art for everybody should be a place of, I'm choosing to do this. You know, it's a place that doesn't cause anxiety. You know?
It makes it look so much more beautiful. It has that honesty value on it, where it's just, you know, if you're just farting images out without any care, and you everyone you hate it, you know, and you become the world-renowned artist because of them. They become kind of like, but why though? You know, why did you choose to do it? I don't know. Just
yeah. Well, and it's like,
or it's like, that's impressive, but
he didn't feel good about it.
Yeah, it makes no sense now.
It's like he got like, you know, I mean, people aspire to be like John Singer Sargent, and you look at his life, and you're like, I wouldn't want that for myself.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like he sacrificed too much for the art, you know? And it's like, the thing I'm finding more is like, I like artists who have like worse draftsmanship, but have a closer life that I'd want to, like NC Wyeth, I really look up to.
Now I really wonder if those hyper-realistic, huge paintings or painters really, you know, they kind of hate their work or not.
They might have. I mean,
because it's so real that it almost makes no sense. I mean, much respect to those people. I feel like I'm constantly apologizing, but yeah, like the work to make it real as a photograph.
Yeah.
You stop trying to make a portrait, and you become making marks with, you know, like a staining substance on a surface. That's all.
Yeah.
For like millions of them,
right?
You know, at a time, these huge portraits. I wonder if they hate him.
Well, they might have. Yeah. If you think about it, it's like
I would.
I wouldn't want to do that either.
Oh my God, when is this?
I like their artwork, but it's also like, the amount of sacrifice it takes to get there is not worth it. I don't think, at least for me. And I totally understand aspiring for something great, but it's also like, are you aspiring for something great to like impress yourself or impress other people? You know?
The but why though comment, in the comment section comes as a trolley, type of response, kind of like very sarcastic and cynical, but it holds some true, questioning, but why though, Is there kind of like a why? I don't need a why. It's like,
fuck
really?
You, yeah. I don't know. Again, we were talking about this the other day where it's like, you don't have that much time on the planet, right? It's like you have, if you live until 50 or if you live until 80 and you're 30 now, you have like 50 years left. And then you cut that down the middle, 25 years left, plus you're working all the time. So it's like you have 10 years of productive time.
Yeah, you have to be incredibly, not bright, but I think
you have to understand yourself.
Efficient in your own self to just ask all those questions, have a why of an answer, and at the same time do the art that you need to do. Because I've always considered that there's two major types of artists: the ones that are just like have a lot of rhetoric and they can analyze themselves very well, and the ones that just don't and do a lot and they just fart it out and they like it and they don't ask questions.
Yeah, right.
And some of them are excellent draftsmen, but horrible teachers.
Yeah.
And the other ones are excellent teachers, but not such good draftsmen.
Yeah. Well, and it always comes back to the idea that art is just communication.
Yeah.
And somebody who makes images is just communicating ideas in the same way a teacher is communicating ideas. And part of being a person is realizing that you can't be good at everything. It's like you can't be good at art. Like you can't be, even as it comes to master artists, you can't be a brilliant oil painter and also brilliant at drawing from your head. It's like there's so many figurative representational artists that I know that struggle with drawing from their head, Yeah. And it's advice for people that are really good at drawing from their head that don't draw from life and suck at it.
Yeah. Have you seen those, sorry, I'm laughing. Have you seen those medieval pictures that have become memes now? It's like, oh, I totally know what a cat looks like.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And there's like the cat going...
right. It has like a human nose. Right?
But that, I feel like that has so much more value than, like for example, the fact that you're sitting in this huge fucking throne.
Yeah.
It has so much more. It's on purpose. It's absolutely on purpose. I mean, it's a chance, but we chose that was where we're going to go with it.
Like if you look behind us, there are tons of chairs.
Yeah.
But we chose like these are symmetrical chairs we could have used.
Yeah.
But I think it's silly that we're using this ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's comfortable,
No, it's not. It's not very comfortable.
It's no. Shit, I'm so sorry.
It's too forward, or it's too big, so my legs are slightly hanging.
Do you want a pillow on your feet like a royal king?
I know, I'm okay. But I think it's funny that like this chair was used, like there was a purpose for it.
Oh, it's in the corner for some odd reason. I don't know why. Maybe some. I don't know, person that's in charge of something.
It's a fanciest chair.
But it's a fanciest chair. And I always seen those like on every church, there's just like chairs to sit down and things. But I've never seen them being used really, like ministers that just stand up for a very long period of time and they
part of me wanting to use this chair is like a little like fuck you to the church where
it's like, a little bit of a power move.
Well, it's like this chair was used as like a demonstration of authority at one point.
It's like the CEO big couch chair.
Exactly. And we're just using it to record a podcast.
Yeah.
And it's like talking about, art.
And Christian, you are. I am Christian. And your name is Christian.
Yeah.
Very adequately. No other person would have been able to sit on that throne.
They would have disintegrated.
Yeah. Quite literally, this shit's so old.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like when I look at stuff like, again, this church, there's like an obvious sense of hierarchy where this chair was meant for somebody, right? Somebody that's like the bishop or I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
But like somebody would sit in this chair for a meaningful thing, because it's
Yeah.
like obviously a really important looking chair, you know. And it's like, why do we do that? You know, it's like, why are there wall hangers at the Watts Atelier? You know, why are there paintings? Like, why does the Met exist? Right? It's like the land that the Met sits on might be worth like $2 billion, you know, prime real estate in New York City, you know.
Wow.
And then all of these paintings are in there that collectively might be worth like $1 trillion, you know,
Yeah.
like essentially priceless. And it's like, you know, a tremendous amount of work goes into maintaining the Metropolitan Museum of Art that could be spent saving people's lives, but instead it's spent on these, you know, on this museum, right? And it's like, as a society, we see that that's important enough to do because there are museums all over the world, all over the country, you know.
But you call that being just for the sake that it's inefficient?
No, I think it's inefficient objectively, but subjectively, as a species, as humans, we've decided that museums are important for some reason, you know. In the same way that it's like, why is it important that there are stained glass windows for this museum, for this church? It's like, it would be easier just to have clear windows, you know, but there's an element of like putting in the extra effort means something that you really can't describe, you really can't explain, you know. It's really strange, you know.
I bet we could Google it out. Jamie, pull that up.
Yeah, Jamie, yeah. But it's like, again, like what do people do when they go to a museum? It's like they go around and they'll travel from all over the world. They'll pay money to get in. They'll like plan their entire day in a city to go to a museum, and it's like,
Yeah. God didn't like your answer, your question.
No,
you know,
it
it
didn't.
just became real dark here.
do you exist, God?
That's how we die.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, going back to the same conversation on meaning, you know, like one of the reasons why, you know, human beings are so particular to any other animal is because we have that aspect of, you know, giving meaning to things that have no intrinsic real meaning by themselves. It's like, for example, you know, cats that hate cucumbers for
Right.
a really meaningful way.
Right. Because they look like snakes.
Yeah.
Right.
But us looking at the Olympics
Right.
for kind of no reason at all.
Well, I was like, you know, if you explain shot put or baseball or basketball, it's like you take this metal ball and you throw it really far.
Yeah.
That's something that a million people will watch. Or it's like you know, for football, you take like animal skin and then you make a ball out of it.
Yeah.
And then you just throw it really far and then go and do a touchdown and you get points and you get more points than you win and you tackle the other people. And it's like, for some reason, it's like that level of play, that level of like, you know, it's important for some reason, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like,
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, for example, do you think that you're gonna, you know, get actually something out of traveling in a van?
so objectively, no. I mean, I'm losing money, right? Because I'm spending a lot of it on gas. You know?
Technically, yeah, materialistically, but your search for meaning with it.
Absolutely.
You know,
I'm getting a lot out of it.
Do you think that you could have got something similar? Because a lot of people do that, you know, like they just stay at home and they do their work and that has sufficient meaning,
Right.
you know. Do you think that you're going to be like, this is a waste somehow?
No. Well, I think it's like, again, the thing that I'm realizing is that the world is high enough definition to where you can get an incredible amount of meaning out of anything, right? It's like you could look at a leaf for 1,000 years and not understand.
Precisely my question. Like, for example, you could do that.
Well, there is no wrong answer. And I guess what I'm trying to say is like, you could be thinking about literally anything. And the fact that you're thinking about something specific means that it's probably important. It's like, I have no interest in sitting in my room and making paintings or running a marathon right now, at least.
Yeah.
What I think about, what I would daydream about is living in a van and driving around the country, you know? And it's like, the problem with us isn't the lack of meaning in the world. It's our ability to see meaning in anything, you know?
And the things that we want. I mean, ask anybody, what do you want? I don't know.
Well,
ice cream.
Yeah, and it's like I don't think that's not the wrong answer. That's the trouble.
Yeah, but
there's no wrong answer,
But the fact that the first instinctual thing is always, I don't know.
Well, it's like it's kind of sad.
Is the person that tells you immediately the right answer lying?
It depends. The answer is no, but it changes. It's like Felipe now and Felipe from 10 minutes from now might be a completely different person than what you want, It's like if I stabbed you, you'd be like, I really want to go to the hospital. It's like, but you don't want to go to the hospital right now.
Want to go to the hospital right now.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Like,
are you interested in painting right now, bitch?
Yeah.
How much do you want to do those characters?
Yeah, exactly. Right? You want to do your comic now? Fucking fraud.
You see, you're fraud.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like,
all it took is a little hole in your lung.
Yeah, it's
to
completely
just make you a bitch.
Yeah, fucking bitch, dude.
We were talking about David Goggins.
Goggins was painted.
Yeah, Goggins were totally painted. Yeah.
Well, and I think it's like, again, it's so important to know who you are. It's important to figure out what the fuck you're up to. Because it's like, I don't even know what I'm up to half the time. It's like, I was listening to the Neil Blomkamp, Joe Rogan episode, and he was talking about how
Hard last name.
Yeah, it is
Difficult.
But Blomkamp, I'm definitely butchering it.
Blomkamp. Let's just go with that.
District 9 guy.
District 9 guy.
But he was talking about how it's like humans are the first, as far as we know, the first conscious beings that can, make stuff with our hands that that were fundamentally driven by very, very primitive biological urges. It's like eat food, have sex, get cave. It's like
lollygag.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, but that impulse combined with the ability to make rocket ships is like, let's go to Mars, let's colonize Mars.
Why not?
Let's go to Antarctica. Let's build iPhones. Let's but it's the same urge that monkeys have to like go and get bananas or do anything. It's just more complex. And again, I know for a fact that I am not a painter in the way that you're a painter, and that's totally okay. It's like,
that's fine.
I'll never make images as good as your images, but like we can both be successful at our own things and be inspired by each other, right?
And I feel like that's the mentality that you need to have with this fucking career. Like, there's no way that you're kind of like comparing yourself. You can compete, but compete with or compare yourself with some wisdom on it. Like choose the people. I'm deeply, deeply competitive, but I'm not competitive with everything or anybody.
Right. Well, and
or everybody. It's just some specific people that are like 2 steps ahead of me. And I just put my crosshair into. Yeah. And I don't go psycho on it, but I just kind of go like, okay, I see how it is.
Well, and it's like it's just part of your personality. And the people that you're talking to don't need to have the same personality as you, And I think that's a problem with like going to art school or having art teachers and only having a few art teachers is that you start to take their values as yours, even though you might not care about that thing at all. It's like, I was talking to my friend Steven Zapata about this, where he was talking about how art school is just a place for you to borrow somebody else's personality, to borrow somebody else's values. It's like you get to borrow, it's like, okay, I'm going to learn to draw like Scott Robertson, it's like, but you might not even give a shit about that at all, but it gives you somewhere to go.
Depends your goal.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, once was a completely different thing. Like, honestly, I mean, with much respect, I didn't know Jeff.
Yeah.
I didn't know off Jeff
right.
or off Eric. I barely knew about Lucas Cristiano.
Yeah.
And call me a filthy Sudaka, like living under a rock.
Right.
But, it's just, the reason why I wanted to go there was to use the tools that I needed to just achieve the next thing. And it proved to be incredibly efficient
right.
and successful for me. Because honestly, I had a goal in mind, and that goal was very clear. It wasn't about like just, I mean, with much respect to other people that, that want to do that, that they want to maintain themselves in the athlete for a very long time, even art instructors that recommend that. I personally don't see the value on that, but other people do.
Yeah.
It's just, I think it just depends on the goal. And if your goal, though, it's abstract,
Yeah.
or somehow, nebulous,
Right.
you're not gonna have that much of a good time, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you okay?
Oh, yeah, no, I'm making sure this is in focus. I can't really see the screen from here. Do you want to check for me? Just like
Sure, I can do it. I can Jamie it out.
Yeah, you could flip the.
Oh, I gotta flip it? Okay. Yeah, it's weird. It's kind of not on focus. Can I
Here, wait. If you do this,
go like that?
if you turn this thing.
Oh, it's manual?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I can do it for you. There. You can see your pimples now.
It's pimples, my acne. Yeah.
Right.
But, again, it's like.
You could have asked me before to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Silly
Yeah,
goose.
all good. Too into the conversation. I'm going to leave all that in, by the way. I'm leaving all this.
All right. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah,
with
yeah.
the big chair and everything.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, again, it always comes back to like, what are your real goals? It's like, I have no interest in being a fine art painter. I have no interest in being like somebody who makes images for a living. But I do have interest in being somebody who draws well, And
But, sorry to interrupt you. But what was your goal going to once? I'm honestly curious.
my goal was,
Originally.
the honest answer is that I wanted validation, It's
Okay.
like what I would say.
That's fair.
Well, what I would say is that I want to be a concept artist. I want to be an illustrator.
Everybody wants to be in a concept.
But
a novel thing.
but what I fundamentally wanted was the approval of other people. I wanted to like draw well, to like get likes on Instagram.
All the cool kids are doing it.
Exactly, to like show off. To post.
Yeah.
Be like, oh yeah, I'm really good at drawing.
It's a small monkey following the big one.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like that's my honest answer.
Big banana, what's up?
Yeah, I want to be better than other people.
Yeah.
And I want money, It's like I'm pretty sure that's the honest answer. And it's more complicated than that, but like if you told me that you could give me $1 billion and I could just have that instead of going to Watts, I probably would take it,
Yeah.
It's like I never can
That's
draw
fair.
again, but I have $1 billion.
And that's fair.
It sounds way better to me, And it's like when I look at my goals, it's way more about having mental freedom, not worrying about my job or not worrying about what people think of me. It's not just like, because I felt like once I had that validation, then I would have the ability to stop caring about like what other people thought.
Yeah.
Once I had all this money or power or clout or something.
Yeah. The why is usually a very, very confusing thing, honestly. It's just, it's a headache. Because when you're so young and you don't know yourself, you're barely out of high school. And I've talked about, of course your audience is not going to know because we've had these conversations privately, but I've talked about tirelessly about education. It's like such a, basis thing on how we are spending most of our time doing things that are very, very menial to what we actually waste or just invest most of our time later on.
Yeah.
It almost seems like a backtracking action of like, okay, I know all this now. Right. I have my SATs and it all went good. I'm not in hell yet. And I have the opportunity to go into Harvard, but now I'm going to backtrack and I'm going to go to Watts.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Sure. You can do that. You have the freedom to do that. And your parents are going to go like, yay, he's very smart. But at the same time, it could have been better, and it sounds very logical to say that and kind of obvious, but at the same time, I don't see us doing any changes that are like any meaningful to that, because every time that I encounter somebody that is youngish and wants to become an illustrator or ask me about like becoming an artist and stuff like that, they're deeply most of them, they're deeply confused people.
Yeah.
They have this cloud idea. They have this without them saying it, but they have it right beneath.
Yeah.
Somehow, like, it's something that, well, it's kind of cool and everybody's doing it. And I didn't do anything else better.
Well, and I think it's like, I mean, I just wanted to do it because it's like I had nowhere else to go. Like, I didn't work in high school at all. Like, I just did the bare minimum. I didn't even like, I was like, SATs, I'm not going to do that. I just want to like sit around and do nothing, you know? And it's like, oh, I guess I'll do art. You know, that sounds fun. And then ultimately it was like, I just fell into it on accident, essentially, you know? And ultimately it's like, the art became a way of me just like communicating to the world that I can work hard. You know, it's like, oh, I actually do care about
Because it's difficult.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's like, oh, I can do this. You know, I can like do things that people are impressed by.
And it's also very fancy pantsy.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, oh, I could be good at something.
Yeah.
You know? And it was all ever for the purpose of like making myself feel good, you know? And again, it like all this stuff is extremely complicated. And I think that's how that starts out with a lot of people. And I wouldn't undo any part of my path at all. You know, I really think it was necessary for me to go down.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's better to have a bad plan that you execute with a lot of effort than no plan at all, you know? And I think it's actually better to have a bad plan that you execute with a lot of effort than a good plan that you execute with no effort, you know?
Yeah. However, you cannot give everything to chance.
Yeah.
I do believe that because, I mean, not to deserve all the effort and work that you've done, but you're a fortunate person too.
For sure.
Like, there's many things in my life, for example, like I'm here, like what the heck? And a lot of things that are given by chance, there are opportunities that are offered and we say yes,
right.
But other people could have said yes too.
Right.
And I could be somebody else right here,
right.
You know, married to Gracie Lynn.
Yeah.
And Gracie Lynn would say no, but I would say, like, I defer, you know, it could have been somebody else with the same experiences, different face. Well,
and the fact that anything ever happens to me is such a strange, like, the world's so bizarre, you know? It's like, the fact that anything exists, right? It's like people built this church, right? It took a tremendous amount of effort to build this church, you know? This is somebody's most important thing in their life. And I just don't, like, we're here just like just no one else is here. It was a free spot to do. So like, yeah, let's do it here, you know?
Yeah.
And again, it comes back to it's so hard to understand everything else. Like, there's so much happening. There's so many other things that go on in your life that you could never even begin to understand why you are the way you are.
Yeah. And that's what I find, that art studying, art education, I find it to be so cruel. Yeah. I find it to be somehow like this very rudimentary type of endeavor that really doesn't have much of a selection process, where there's no questions asked. It's like, do you want to waste your time?
Right.
Sure, go in. And do you want to become a great artist? Sure, if you want. Yeah. It's kind of like an open revolving door, but for people it means everything.
Yeah.
And we punish those people for giving so much meaning to for caring too much.
Well, but I think often the caring comes from the wrong place. It's like, why do people want to become illustrators? Why do they want...
The same reason that you were telling me, the whole, like, that's why I asked you this. Is because it seems, in my eye, that you went to Watts for whole different reasons that I did.
Oh,
and one of the reasons why I am an illustrator and you're not are because of that duality.
Right.
It's a different path.
Yeah.
But it's because you had a different type of Well, I just wonder if you would have done the same decision, whether you knew why you were doing things or not. If you wanted to be a podcaster, if you wanted to interview artists, you would have gone to Watts or not. Or you just like keep on having meetings or keep on, connecting with people and just like giving them a platform.
I think the answer is it's complicated. I think that like I still love art, I still want to draw.
Yeah.
I think it's like, like we were talking about this earlier yesterday or today, where what you value determines what you see. And we could be in the same exact place at the same exact school, learning from the same exact people, around the same people, drawing the same subject, even at the same exact time with the same materials, but we see completely different things. It's like the utility of you figure drawing and doing all this stuff is like, oh, I can apply this to my illustrations. And to me, it was like, I guess I just want to get good at figure drawing because it can help me like
fun.
Yeah, it's for fun.
Yeah.
And I can apply this to like, applying to just show people, just to brag about it, or so whatever else. It wasn't entirely bad, but
I was talking to the guys about this too. The guys in the yellow cauldron group.
Yeah.
That it's just I feel like there's very few instances that I've gone to classes that I've actually needed.
Yeah.
And most of them are because I want. Like now, I feel like now in September, at the end of September, I enroll myself in a 3D class that I perfectly could be capable to just like learn by myself, really.
Right.
But I'm doing it because I want to. I'm doing it because I feel it's not a need, really. It's not like life or dead. There's no like. Because this is what used to be my mentality for a very long period of time. It's just desperation of going to Watts or going to somewhere to get that, knowledge and not being able to harness it by myself early on is a very, important thing to do. Are you all right with it?
Oh yeah, my batteries are dying.
Oh, so you just replace them and
Oh yeah, this one has one bar, so it might die soon. Is there an outlet I could plug into?
Sure, we can take a break if you want.
Oh yeah.
I need to go to the bathroom.
Okay, sure, I do too. The world is strange.
Come again?
The world is strange.
We're starting again?
Yeah. Are you going to keep going? Or?
Yeah?
Oh yeah, it's going.
Okay, so
yeah.
Okay. Talk something smart.
Art is
quick.
The world is meaningless. We're all gonna die.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been thinking about how meaning is just so incredibly subjective, and success is so incredibly subjective.
We already lost all the viewers.
Well, pee break. I'm gonna cut out the pee break, but my time at Watts was really valuable for me. I really enjoyed it. I got a lot out of it.
Yeah.
Like again, we were there for completely different reasons. I wasn't there to be like an artist. I was there to just like have a place to just do something. To draw, to like just enjoy what it's like to just be in school, and learn things, and and ultimately it was super fun. But when I look at all this stuff, I think it's like a
spun nerd.
You could be in like a complete, again, same place and just see completely different things than somebody else. And I think so. A lot of people's success and their happiness is way more determined on what they see versus what's actually there objectively.
Yeah.
Like Jeff can be kind of hard on students sometimes. And do you see him as just like a really inspiring teacher that's like keeping you accountable and a really hard worker? Do you see somebody that's like picking on you? And, it's like both at the same time, depending on who you are and depending on what you're able to even, see the world as.
Yeah.
And for some people, it's one or the other. For some people, it's the same, like the same thing at the same time.
Yeah. I just don't like the reason why I bring this up is because I just don't like the idea that there's people that are really meant to be good illustrators out of this, but they're killing themselves to get there.
Yeah. One, I think it's like
getting themselves in debt, to get there.
But
they don't need to.
The part of all this stuff is like, it's not our place to tell them that.
Of course not.
Yeah.
But also, things could be better.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right. Well, and again, it's like from your own definition of what better is. You know.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know. I've just been thinking about how crazy the universe is in general. It's like the universe, our reality is way crazier than any piece of fiction that exists. You know, it's like the Big Bang happened, you know, theoretically, and galaxies exist, and trillions of galaxies and universes could exist. You know, it's like nuclear bombs exist, atom bombs exist. You know, it's like they're like we're standing on a rock floating through space at 60,000 miles per hour. And at the core of our planet, there's like a ball of iron that's like 1 trillion degrees. That's like, you know, weighs 1 trillion tons. You know, again, it's just like the crazy.
The things that we center ourselves on.
Well, like
that's
how
important.
One, it's like how complex and how much stuff there is in the universe is just fucking insane. You know, and the fact that we ever feel like stressed out about making images or getting money or any of that stuff is such a strange.
And in layman terms, you would ask, but what are you going to do about it? You know, it's just nothing really.
Well, again, you can't help what you value, you know, in spite of, my camera died and I'll just wait for the other one to charge. Well, it's like in spite of the world being ultimately, you know, like just having a ton of meat, like you can't help but value, like if you're a fighter, you know, you really love to fight, you know, or if you're a librarian, you might like love sorting books alphabetically, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, you can't help that. You can't help but, you know, value that as a human being. And you can't help but draw on pain, you know? I asked you this question the other day where it's like, could somebody pay you $1 billion to stop painting? You said no.
No.
And it's like, that tells me that we get completely different things from painting in general, where it's like...
Yeah. You know, one of the things that there's no cats here, just so you know.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing that I think, you know, it's just, for me, so important to regarding education that, you know, you could save people's time so much by just having to, you know, just give them the right orientation individually. And I know that it's inefficient, you know, like for example, we're in a very, there's no time to waste. Yeah. And for example, there's at a certain point, it's your responsibility to know this, but at a certain point, the consequences of you not being interested or being so lost are also not of your own doing.
Yeah.
It's so many people that yesterday we were talking about it, how there's so many people that just literally fall through the cracks, and there's not much of their fault. They just chose badly in some instances, and
or maybe their mother did heroin and they came out addicted, came out of the womb addicted to heroin. You know,
it's like that happens. I mean, there's so many things that are just like. And even like having too much choice, it is a thing.
Okay.
That.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna change the switch back. So you'll be recorded. I won't be recorded, but it's preferable. Sketchy Van podcast.
Sketchy Van
podcast.
Yeah. Yay.
Fuck yeah, dude.
But yeah. And anyways, I think that, I don't know, my main concern really is education. And I don't do any of it, but You
care about it.
I care about it because I want to do it later on in my life. And I don't want to just like, I just don't want to be irresponsible about it. And I know a lot of people go like, just, you know, the more you do, the better. I have that idea of things. But I think when you somehow have authority over other people, it's kind of like different.
Yeah.
you know.
Again, it's very strange. All this stuff is very bizarre.
And it's overbearing too, you know, like in the sense that you have to pay bills, you have to, care for the location that you've been renting, the materials, and I'm not talking about what's, I'm talking about like every type of university. Really, it's like there's some profit to be made out of it, and just everybody's caught up into this machinery that just advertises success.
Yeah, well, and again, it's like, I think part of education is realizing that the success of your students is not your responsibility. It's like, as an educator, the only thing you can do is open doors for people, and it's up to them to walk through. And it's not your place to tell them whether it's right.
Of course not.
And I think it's like, from a certain perspective, the whole $100,000 a year for education makes sense, because it's like, theoretically, you're providing information that could change somebody's life. And it's like, if only they walk through it, it would be worth it. But it's up to them to,
I'll give you an example though, this is why it's not that I disagree, but this is the point that I'm making. Back in the day, they used to, expel students.
Yeah.
That's something that you don't see today.
In college?
Unless you have a criminal amongst you.
Right. Well, and I don't have a college degree. I think college is...
And every institution. Like, for example, if you have a very small group that is dedicated to a certain thing,
right,
you want to have the people that are actually there to work.
Yeah.
And you want to surround yourself with those people that are feeding off of this knowledge and this activity in order to make it better.
Right.
It's not business,
right,
so to say. It's a study.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that ultimately it's like...
and maybe I'm being too idealistic. I'm not into socialism or anything like that. It's just... I'm just into the mechanics that we're falling through to just make things worse.
Yeah. Well, and again, all this stuff is so complicated. It's like, I can do nothing about the COVID pandemic in terms of like changing mass opinion on getting vaccinated or not, or wearing masks or any of that kind of stuff. I think wearing masks and getting vaccinated is very important, but there's only, like, I can only do my part. I can only do what I can do, and ultimately it's like, school is corrupt, but I also think that there's a good element to it, and trying to find that balance of like, nothing is perfect, and things that aren't working well will eventually, they all like fall apart. And I think school is no different, where everyone I know is like, you don't need to go to school to get a job. You don't need to go to school to do anything. You just do it yourself, make your own school. And that's becoming way more common of an answer than go to art school, and I think eventually the tides will tip, and it's like, oh yeah.
Something that I appreciate today.
Yeah. And the reason I'm so into online education is because it is cheap and affordable. You could do it at your own pace, and you have a community of people that are self-selecting. So when you're online, you have a lot of people that are like seeking this thing out intentionally, versus when they're put into a class, they're given a curriculum that that might not even be interested in.
Yeah.
Like, I know a lot of art schools who require their game art students to do 3D classes, even though they just want to be 2D concept artists, or they just want to be 2D artists.
Yeah.
They'll make them take a $10,000 class for,
Yeah, it's crazy to think that universities and college places, are on their downfall. Like, they're not self-sustaining anymore.
And I think it's good. We were talking about this illustration where it's like, you can no longer be paid $50,000 to do an illustration.
It's being replaced.
But it's like, it's good. It's like, the right thing to do isn't to like protect the institution and give them a lot of money. It's to let them die and find a better solution. Because right now, it's not productive for our, the young people in this country to be hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt for decisions that they were like pressured into making,
There was no way that I could have, I think, met Greg Manches or Irene Gallo Anderoni any other circumstances than an online class.
Yeah.
Like, it's a huge difference. I find it so,
Well,
for how expensive it is, it's a smidge
yeah.
of the expense that you would have to pay for just, go to a university or a college that they're...
Well, and when you look at it that way, you're getting a better product ultimately. You're getting it like it's cheaper and
It's
better.
it's a chance, a better chance.
Well, and again, it's like that's going to survive a lot better than the degree-based education.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. I'm getting to a position where I can potentially hire people, and I don't care about degrees at all.
No,
It's like,
no, at all. Nobody. I have a degree in industrial design. Do you think that people look at that?
Yeah.
No.
no, not at all. And I think
Like,
it's
do you think Magic the Gathering, they care that I know how to build stuff, or I'm a designer and I have my board from the University of whatever?
right.
No, nobody cares. I mean, you could have just literally fall into diapers
Right.
and just, be working at your desk in your home,
Yeah.
and that be good. All right. You're good to go,
Yeah. The thing that I'm constantly just,
You're an asshole? No. Okay, cool.
yeah, good job. Yeah.
Yeah, good job.
Well,
Requirements are minimum.
the thing that I'm trying to think for myself is just do whatever I want in an authentic way. Like doing not whatever I want in terms of like eating ice cream all the time. It's like doing what I want in the way that's best for me. It's like sometimes people will be like, oh, I don't want to go to work today, but they won't actually mean it because then they'll go to work. And it's like, you actually want to go to work today. You want to go to work more than you dislike the discomfort of not going to work, And it's like understanding that that's the decision I'm actually making, and then actually being like, okay, that's my hierarchy of values. I will live my life based on how true that is, and then understanding it's like, okay, like thinking about why I don't want to go to work, and trying to change my life based on why I'm thinking I don't want to go to work, and then over time becoming more and more accurate at diagnosing why I don't want to do the things I'm doing, but yeah, again, all this stuff is complicated. I'm gonna check how long we've been going for. We've been going for about an hour and 15 minutes or so.
You want to leave it there?
Yeah. Well, do you want to wrap up? Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Sure. Visit my webpage, felipeescobar.cl.
Yeah. People can spell it. FESBRA.
No, I think honestly, I just really value the fact that you came. I know that all this was in your way, but the fact that you came over here to just like pass a couple of days,
I really appreciate having me. Again, it's
honestly. No, because honestly, I feel like it matters. It matters that you took the time and dedication to be here and have allergies in our house.
Yeah. Well, again, it's everything matters, and it's like it only matters, like objectively, I could have taken a plane here and I could be here in 9 hours.
But I feel appreciated, and I feel lucky that honestly that you appreciate me back, and that you appreciate the work that I do and the conversations that we have.
Yeah.
And I think that honestly, I'm really, really impressed.
Oh, thank you.
By the amount of work that you've done to just do whatever you want.
Oh, thank you.
It is something that I find incredibly inspirational, even though if it's not the best podcast in the world and if 5 people are watching it, regardless, it's incredibly inspirational to see somebody that goes, fuck it. Yeah. I just want to do whatever I want. Yeah. And you know what? I'm going to try, I'm going to fail, and I'm going to do it again. Right. And that's how you do it. And there's no other way around it, unless you want to just like spend lots of time studying until you stop loving that idea that you had in the first place.
Absolutely.
In the meantime, somebody like you just picked up a van, sketchy van, and just like refurbished it with a bunch of shit inside of it, and you just went off.
Yeah.
0 fucks given. And you have back problems in it, you eat like shit, but regardless, you have the experiences that you want to have because you want to do the things. And that, I think that desire and that interest is the one that, I applaud generally.
It's worth the sacrifice.
Yeah, regardless of anything that you do. I would never be interested in doing what you do, but I'm incredibly interested in seeing people trying out things out of passion. It's just so inspirational. It makes me wake up in the morning.
Right.
It's so much. It's worth.
It's very kind of you to
It's so worth it.
Well, I really appreciate it. It's very kind of you to say. I really
Yeah.
do
I
appreciate
mean, no problem. I mean, it's all your work, man.
Well, if somebody wanted to learn from you, somebody wanted to email you and ask for advice, should they do that? Should they?
Yeah. I mean, I answer emails all the time. The only thing is that, not to come out as a jerk, but most of the times I'm the person of the idea of do not do this.
Yeah.
Do not become an, because many of the people don't know what they want. People in general don't know what they want.
Right.
And they have this image, and this is something that I always say, and sorry to overextend myself, but image is so easy to be captivated by.
Yeah.
You see the big booty on Instagram, everybody, but illustration is the same. It's pretty, it's cool, it's amazing. I want to do it. I want it. The thing, the candy, red. Woo! But nobody reads a book.
Yeah.
I mean, who's going to read a book? Raise your hands. Who is going to become a writer? And if you don't want to be like Stephen King or any of those famous artists, it's just, when are you reading a book? And you need to go from the front to the back in order to just realize like, oh my God, I want to become a writer.
Yeah.
But watching an image, it takes like half a second and you go like, okay, good.
Right.
And that's why I feel like, not to be a jerk, but I'm usually the person of the idea that after making a few questions, because I've stumbled up some people that are like that, and I've tried my best to give my advice that they can take or they can leave, but just don't do this. It's just so much work, and it usually goes unnoticed, and it usually it's not well paid, and you're gonna eat shit for a very long time. And it's not immediate. It's not like, oh, I just need to get my fundamentals going. I'm good. And no, like you're going to eat shit regardless for at least 5 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Like shit.
Right.
And then it's going to be less shit. Right. It's going to be kind of, it's not going to be like, oh, the shit stopped. No, it's just gradual.
Right.
And you slowly take yourself out of the pen into better pastures. But,
right.
and it seems like the greener pastures never come.
Yeah.
Like, not a couple of years ago, I was incredibly desperate.
Yeah.
And I've always been like, right now I'm not working.
Right.
I'm unemployed.
Yeah.
Technically, I'm under, the whole visa process that I need to do in order to get my green card and all that, but I haven't worked, nothing. I'm going insane.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to keep my sanity by doing all sorts of things. I've gotten really good at doing sourdough bread.
Yeah.
And that says something. And I think that whatever it is, this is not straightforward. This is a really sketchy career.
Yeah.
And you need all the help that you can get. And oh my gosh, you become really, that's why I say thank you so much.
Yeah.
Whoever you are, and, if you come through my path and you lend a hand, I'm going to take it. And I'm going to say thank you 1,000 times, and I'm going to write your name under my bed.
Right.
And it's tough. And the worst thing that I desire or really hope for people is wasting their time, because I've seen those.
Yeah.
I've seen the people coming by and spending 5 or 4 years into it and then saying thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah.
And that breaks my heart every time.
Yeah.
It's just really, and yeah, you could say like, well, don't personalize, it's not your issue. But at the same time, I go like, I could have said no. I could have said like, hey, you have these other options. I could have asked a few more questions about themselves and going like, hey, why don't we take a walk? Why don't we come by home? I'll buy you dinner. I'll make you dinner if you want. And we can talk about this. And you can choose whether you really want to become an art teacher in a university that is dying off, or you want to like, just become a dentist. Like, by all means, if you want money, become a dentist.
Right.
Like, anytime.
Yeah.
You can do this on the weekends.
Right.
But you can reach me on my webpage.
Yeah.
www.FESBRA.com, and you can send me an email so I can tell you to fuck off.
Yeah. I tell you why you shouldn't be an artist, but then why it's also...
No, I sound like a jerk, but generally, like, I just care a lot about it. And if you're truly interested, I've talked still to people that are very, very interested about it, and I'll give you all my contacts if you want. I'll give you all the knowledge that you want. Honestly, it's just all the resources that I have. You want brush sets? You got them. You want some emails? You got them. Not all of them, but it's just a matter of because that's where people have their own measure. You can see their measure. I will give you all the stuff,
right,
and then you see what you do with it.
Yeah,
and that's where a lot of people fall off.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like that rich kid that has all the colors of the pencils, and they have right there, and I have all the colors, and they're perfectly aligned, and I do nothing with them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
it's complicated, but I appreciate you being on.
Yeah, of course. I mean, thanks, and thanks.
Thanks to the church. Yeah, cool. Nice. Cool. Okay.
Close in on Proco, like as that goes in, just.